Hi, this is Steve. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review. Now in this video we continue with the build of Eaglemoss's Ghostbusters Ecto-1. We are in issue 3, stage 5. In stage 5 we get to start the transmission, which leads us up to the engine. Super excited about this because this is the kind of stuff I really like. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. With that, let's get started. Welcome back. Let's look at issue 3, stage 5 of the instructions. And here's the instructions for stage 5. We're going to start assembling the gearbox. Being a mechanic that I am, I like working on cars. I have several cars that I work on myself. I have a 72 Volkswagen Beetle. I have a 1996 Jeep Cherokee. I have a 2010 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon JKL. And I also have a 2005 Chevy Duramax. So they all keep me busy. We only have 3 steps to do here with the gearbox. And we'll go ahead and pull these parts out and we'll start assembling this. If you haven't done so already, head over to Eaglemoss and subscribe to this before it sells out. If that's the case, then they'll just put you on a pre-order status. But with that, let's get started. Here's a bag containing the parts for stage 5, and you can see inside we have a blister pack with all the parts for the gearbox. So I'll pull these out, we'll get a closer look. Once again, now that everything's out of the bag, this is what they look like in the blister pack. And well protected. I like how they do that to protect the parts. Looks like the parts are metal here and they are pre-painted in a GM blue, as they call it. And we got some DM screws that were thrown in behind it and some EM screws. I'll take these out, we'll get a closer look. Here's the bell housing connector, here's the bell housing plate, the bell housing itself, the gearbox connector, which is the shorter one, gearbox left and right, and we get the oil pan. The oil pan is the only one that's plastic, all the rest are metal. And once again, we did get the DM screws and the EM screws. Step 1 for fixing or assembling the gearbox. Now this represents a 4-speed hydromatic transmission put out by General Motors. And as far as the color goes, this would be the, what would we call the bell housing for the transmission. Some were painted blue just like this, the GM blue, and some were painted silver, so it really doesn't matter how you would want to do it. We never actually see this detail in the movie, so you can do it however you want. Now we're going to fix this gearbox connector on the outside of it with some DM screws. And this connector is metal. So what I would go ahead and do is I'm going to lubricate the holes first with my Vaseline. Just going to make things a lot easier. And we'll put this on the outside of it, like that. I'm going to use my Wera screwdriver. And we'll just make sure the holes line up here. Just like that. I don't know if you can see that or not. I got it to bite. Do the other side. Once again, get it lined up. As hopefully you can see that on the side camera a little bit. That is tight. Flip it over. And that's what they look like installed. Let's go to step 2. Step 2, we continue with the bell housing assembly for the gearbox. We're going to install the bell housing connector, which is the longer one, and that feels like it's made of metal. And the bell housing end plate is also made of metal. Now what they want us to do is insert this into that slot, and it looks like it doesn't matter which way it goes. It goes into the slot there, and we're going to put 2 DM screws into that. I'll go ahead and put some Vaseline on those. Just makes it a lot easier for me. We'll insert that connector onto that. 2 DM screws go into it. I like to get them both started before I tighten them down. There they are. That looks great. Continue with step 2. Now we'll insert that end plate into our bell housing for the transmission, and it's going to get screwed into these 3 points here. So you guessed it. More Vaseline. Okay, all 3 are lubricated. And it goes in just a certain way. So I'm going to position it where this outer edge here with this tab is on the left, and they want us to present the plate just like that with that connector on the right top. So we'll line that up. I believe it's only going to allow me to put it in one way. Yeah, so you can see there's a tab on top right by my finger, and that lines up with the tab inside the bell housing. So we'll slide that in. It locks in place only one way. This time we're going to put in some EM screws, and these EM screws are just a little bit smaller than the DM screws. But we can still use our PHO screwdriver for that. So they've already been lubricated. There's one. There's two. We tighten that down just a little more. We got one more to do. Make sure they're all tight. And they're all tight. They're all installed. Alright, let's move over to step 3 now. Step 3, we assemble the 2 gearbox halves and also the oil pan. I'm going to go ahead and pre-lubricate at least the 3 holes for the 3 halves, for the 2 halves of the gearbox. And just put a little bit right there, and right there. Okay, those are lubricated. We'll take our bell housing and make sure this is facing to the right. We'll put our left side on first. It will line up with that connector. And we're going to install one DM screw right there on that connector. Tighten that DM screw down. That will hold it in place. And you can see a close-up of it there. And there's the gearbox on the left side already installed. So I already lubricated these points up. We're going to put the right side down also. Just like that. Everything lines up. We're going to put 2 EM screws in on the side. There's one. And the last one going in. Make sure they're all tight, and they are. So that's your transmission halves put together. I'm liking how that looks so far. This hydromatic transmission, 4-speed. And lastly, we put in a EM screw here to attach the oil pan. And lastly, we attach the oil pan. It has a flat spot protrusion on one side. The other side does not have that, so you want to make sure that face is on the outside. It looks like it's only keyed in anyway. There's a little keyway here, and there's one on the part, and it's simply going to go down on top of the transmission. So this is your oil pan where the filter is for the transmission. We're going to put an EM screw into that. I want to lubricate it first. Put the pan back down. and we used the EM screw, which was a smaller screw we received with this issue, and it'd be that simple. And that's tight. So that completes Stage 5. Stage 5 is completed, and as you can see, we already have our 4-speed hydromatic transmission by General Motors, and I think it really looks the part. So with that, please head over to Eaglemoss and get started on this before it sells out. I have a feeling that it's going to sell out fast here in the US because it's a very popular car for the Hero Collector Eaglemoss Diecast Club. So with that, if you don't subscribe to my channel, please subscribe, and if you like this video, please hit the like. With that, happy modeling everybody. Take care. We will see you in Stage 6.